it said like the COVID-19 policy is you have to have a QR code. I did not have a QR code. I'm gonna just be sharing with you guys my NCLEX experience, and I passed my NCLEX on the first try, and I'm just so happy and so grateful and just so glad that I was, and so relieved that I was able to just get it over with. And I'm just gonna run through my experience with you guys because I've been meaning to film this video for a little while. Well, not a little while, like I did my test on Saturday, so I had it on Saturday, January 22nd. If you watched my previous video, you would have known that I had a little mishap when it comes to scheduling and being rescheduled for my NCLEX exam. So if you haven't watched that video, watch it. But thank you guys who commented on that video and wished me luck. Everything worked out because I passed. So despite all of that, it was such a stressful experience. Like, it was really stressful, and I'm gonna just get into it. My NCLEX was originally scheduled for January 5th. 4 days before my scheduled exam, I got an email from Pearson VUE saying that they had to cancel my exam, and pretty much that I have to reschedule. They told me to reschedule, which sucked, but I rescheduled it, and the closest date that I could get was January 22nd. So pretty much it gave me an extra 3 weeks to prepare more and to study more. So that was actually a blessing in disguise because, as I said, I wasn't feeling well the first time. So let's just fast forward to January 22nd. So I felt very, very prepared. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I felt prepared. Like, I always test well. Like, I usually always test well. If you actually know me and you went to school with me, you would know that, like, I was always like an average, like, A+ student, A student. I would get like 80s and 90s for the most part. So like, I know how to study and I know what works for me. But the NCLEX is a little different though. I was so anxious that I feel like I didn't get the greatest amount of sleep. My exam was booked for the afternoon at 2 o'clock. So I had a class to tutor in the morning at 10. So I woke up, I had a little bit of breakfast. I had half my breakfast and then did my tutor for an hour, and then I finished the rest of my breakfast. After that, it was pretty much like around 11, kind of reviewing notes. Like, I was reviewing my notebook that I had because I don't know, like, I was so anxious that, like, to be honest, I feel like reviewing my notes the morning up made me even more anxious. I probably should have just relaxed and not reviewed any of my notes. But honestly, it came in handy because one of the questions that I got was actually the last thing I reviewed. So let me not say that, but yeah, like, I just remember feeling so anxious. And one thing about me, when I get anxious and I have something big to do, like, I'm constantly, this might be too TMI, but I'm like in and out of the washroom, like constantly peeing. Like, my stomach will be growling, like I'll be like feeling nauseous. So I honestly, this was so stressful that, like, I'm smiling now because I'm happy and I know my results. My brother ended up dropping me off at like the test center at like maybe 1:15 or something. So maybe like 45 minutes before my test. So definitely go early. Didn't eat because I was feeling so nauseous. Like, I was kind of scared to eat because, yeah, I just was nauseous. I didn't want to eat and put something in my stomach and throw up. So I didn't eat. I thought my breakfast would pretty much hold me through, and I threw a bagel in my bag before I left. So I was munching on the bagel kind of like in the car, but it wasn't like a full proper meal. As soon as I got there, right? So the secretary or whatever asked for my ID. I showed him my ID. He seen that I had my test at 2. Boom, like, that's me. And he's like, oh, you can go to the front and just talk to them. Maybe they'll let you in early, whatever. they didn't do that. But when I walked in, the first thing I seen on the door was like, you have to have it said like the COVID-19 policy is you have to have a QR code. I did not have a QR code. Like, I did not have a QR code because, like, honestly, so I'm in Canada, like Toronto, and we recently, I think in December, started the QR code. December, like some places basically started, like restaurants started incorporating, maybe December or November started the QR code thing. But for the longest time, you could also just show your vaccine, your proof of vaccination with just a picture on your phone. So that's what I've been carrying around. I'm fully vaccinated, and I had the picture on my phone of like the receipt that you get when you get vaccinated. I have like the QR code, which is something that you can scan, right? So being that it's January, I guess more places are transitioning into just accepting the QR code and not the picture. But I wasn't prepared for them to ask me for the QR code, and it said like, in order to enter this facility, you pretty much have to have a proof of vaccination via the QR code. Or if you're not vaccinated, you have to show why you're not, like for religious reasons. I was freaking out because I did not come prepared with a QR code. And I was just like, okay, like luckily I had my health card on me. So I was like, okay, I need to just find the link and see if I can pull it up on my phone. I got there early, so I had the time to do that. So I quickly called my brother, panicking. I'm like, can you please send me the link? How do I get the QR code? How do I get the QR code? And he sent me the link, and I was able to pull it up on my phone, luckily, because I was already feeling so stressed out about doing this exam. I don't know what it was, but I've never been so nervous for an exam. Like, never. Like, I've done so many exams this far and in my education, and I've never been this nervous. And then this QR code situation comes up, giving me more anxiety. I'm set, boom. So I go in, and the guy sits me down in like the front and just tells me to sit and wait. He was dealing with someone else, and then he came to deal with me. He gave me a paper that had it had like basically the rules. You cannot disclose anything that you've seen on the test. What else? It's just like, you know, the regular stuff that we already know, you know, privacy and confidentiality, all those things. The next thing was about the breaks. So I was reading about the breaks, and there's scheduled breaks and there's unscheduled breaks. So scheduled breaks, I think the first break is at 2.5 hours, something like that, and then the next break, or no, 2 hours, I think it's at the 2 hours or 2.5 hour mark, and then the next scheduled break is like probably like 3 or 4 hours in. And then you can do unscheduled breaks, which is basically whenever you want to use the washroom, or you can just raise your hand. What you weren't allowed to enter into the exam room, you couldn't bring no electronics, you couldn't bring water, you couldn't bring gum. I didn't even know that, because I'm the type of person, I always bring my water bottle everywhere with me, especially like I get thirsty. Like when you're hot and you're thinking you're trying to like write an exam, you want to stay hydrated. So you couldn't use any of those things. They give you a locker to put all your belongings in, and they take your phone and they put it in a plastic bag. They tell you to put it in a plastic bag and leave it in the locker. They had a place to hang up your coat. I had to get my picture taken and my hand scanned. So they had like a hand scanner thing, and the scanner was for it's kind of like a key, like your identity, to enter into the room. So like this was maximum security. Like they were not playing. I'm talking about Pearson VUE, like Pearson VUE. That's where I did the exam. So they were not playing. They had an extensive security. So before you enter into the exam room, you have to get screened. Yeah, you literally have to empty your pockets, pretty much turn them inside out, show them that nothing's in there. I remember I had like a Hall's candy. I just threw it away. because I didn't even go back to my bag and put it in my bag because I was just like, I threw it away. So I have glasses. They asked me to take off my glasses, put my glasses on a tray, and then they inspected the glasses. They just looked at it, make sure that nothing is there. They asked you to take off your mask, flip the mask inside out, or show them the inside of the mask so that they can make sure that there's nothing there. They asked you to turn around and go like this to show anything behind your ears. Like, it was extensive search. They asked you to pat yourself down, like roll up your sleeve, make sure there's nothing on the inside of your arm, like all of that. Like, it makes sense because it is a standardized test, and they want to make sure everyone has a fair opportunity and just make sure there's no one cheating. Like, that completely makes sense to me. But I didn't really expect for them. And then also, so when you go in and take your test, like, you're put in like a cubicle with the computer, and I'm put in the cubicle with the computer, and then somebody's also watching everyone, so they have everyone on like camera too. They can see them, and on the outside, and they're basically it's just a quiet room, and you're in a cubicle and they're watching. So yeah, I don't know what I thought how it was gonna be, but I didn't expect for it to be like so secure and so strict, because all of that built up more anxiety, I think, for me. But whatever. So I sit down now, and my picture is on the computer screen. So my picture is on the computer screen now. The picture that I took when I was out into the lobby when I was first signing in. And then also to get into the room, I had to use my handprint or scan my hand. So had like earplugs. She asked me if I wanted earplugs, and I was like, okay, I'll just take them. I never really studied much with earplugs, but I just was like, I'll just take them. And I remember putting them in my ears, and like I put them in my ears because remember, the outside noise is like cut off now, so all I could hear is boom 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 boom. Like, my heart is racing to do the test. That like, as soon as I seen the first question, like, I blanked out. Like, or if I basically couldn't remember. Like, I literally just didn't remember. I'm pretty sure I just guessed for the first question, first 2, 3, 4 questions. And then as I went along, I just reminded myself, Shanika, breathe, breathe, breathe. If it's question, like, I was seeing stuff that I knew, and I was answering them, and I basically, the farther along I got is the more comfortable I get, and I think that's kind of like how tests are in general. Like, you might be nervous at the beginning, but like basically after like 30 minutes your nerves kind of calm down because you're in the environment for you've been in you're actually taking the test. You're getting kind of used to like the environment type of thing. So I was getting less anxious, having a headache. Like, I was having a headache. To be honest, I feel like I was having like a little bit of a headache coming on from when I first sat down, but I just pushed through, and by the time I got to like an hour and 45 minutes, like, it was for sure a headache, and I was so uncomfortable, and I just pushed through. I just asked for a break. I left the room. If you go for a break, that 5 minutes cuts into your test time. They do not pause the clock. So if you're going for a break, you need to be quick and make it short, make it quick, and come back because you're running out of time pretty much. So I went to the washroom quickly, got a drink, came back. I didn't want to take a Tylenol because I didn't want it to make me feel drowsy, because I only had the nighttime Tylenol. Doing the test, and I was feeling better about it, but like physically, like, I was feeling nauseous. Like, when I tell you, like, you thought I was nauseous before, no, I'm nauseous now that I'm in the test and now that I have a headache. So probably when I got to like 80 questions, I ended up leaving the room and then going to my bag, grabbing my bagel, and I ate a little bit of my bagel, went to the washroom, came back, I drank some water, came back, and then I had a feeling though that I only had a few more questions to go. So I was like, okay, just give it your all for the next few minutes. I have a feeling. As soon as I get in there, I kid you not, I was in there for like 15 minutes or 10 to 15 minutes, and the computer shut off. So it shut off on me at 95 questions, and I was like, oh my god, boom, something else popped up. Questions, it was like, this part of the exam will take 30 minutes. And I'm like, what the heck is this? Basically, the NCLEX, they had these sample questions and they want to test to see how students or people perform on these types of questions so that they can include it when they update the NCLEX, I guess, in the future, like different styles of questions. And this question was like a paragraph form, like paragraph and like lab values in the paragraph. And I was like, what is going on? Because it said an extra 30 minutes. And I was like, am I done? So I called the I don't even know what you call them, the person that's proctoring the exam or whatever. I called him in and he was like, oh, this part is optional, you don't have to do it. I'm like, I'm done, like I am over this, like, sir, please get me out of here. Like, if I'm done, I'm done. I literally look sick. But anyways, so he was like, okay, just press end exam. So I ended the exam. At this point, to be honest with you, I left feeling uncomfortable. I did not know where I stood because I was like, I was, mind you, I said I was the last person to enter the exam, and I was the first person to leave. Like, I was like the two other people that came to write at 2 o'clock, they were still there when I left. So I took probably about like 2.5 hours and they were still there. So I didn't know where I stood. I didn't know if I passed or if I failed. I'm like, I either did extremely well or extremely bad. The next morning I woke up, I think around 10 o'clock. I checked my email and I got an email from the CNO. It said to check your messages. So I checked, I logged into my CNO account, checked it, boom, it was there. It was like, you passed. I didn't want to record my reaction, but I should have. And then, like, I told all my friends, my family, and yeah, so that was it. That was pretty much my experience doing my NCLEX. I'm also going to be doing a video about how I studied for my NCLEX and kind of like how, if you don't know where to start, it can give you some guidance. So definitely stay tuned for that. Don't forget to subscribe if this is some content that you like to see, and I'll see you guys next time.